I'm nearly 70 now. For most of my life, I've been what people would call a stoic, or to be blunt, emotionally distant. I grew up poor. For me, survival meant action, not words. I never learned how to be gentle. When I married, I carried that same silence into my family. At the dinner table, I was the type of father who expected food ready without thanks. If my kids laughed too loud, I barked, quiet. To my wife, I rarely offered soft words. Instead of saying thank you, I'd mutter, "The soup's too salty." My children grew up tiptoeing around me, afraid of my moods, and I told myself, that's how fathers are supposed to be. The years passed. My kids grew up and built lives of their own. My son especially became distant. He rarely talked to me beyond the surface, and though I wished things were different, I had no idea how to fix decades of silence. Then, not long ago, my son brought home his girlfriend, his fiancée-to-be, as my wife eagerly whispered. My wife spent days preparing, cooking every dish she knew, cleaning the house until it sparkled. She was glowing with anticipation. "At last," she said, "our son is ready to start his own family." Though I never said it aloud, I too felt a spark of hope. In my heart, I thought, maybe this young woman will bring warmth into our house. Maybe she'll give my son the gentle home life I failed to show him. When they arrived, I studied her carefully. She was polite, neatly dressed, and clearly respectful. She bowed her head slightly as she greeted me, but her voice was faint, her eyes darting away from mine. Trying to ease the awkwardness, I asked, "So, what do you do?" She hesitated. I work for a tech company." Short, barely above a whisper. I pressed, "What kind of work?" She glanced at my son, then muttered, "IT stuff," and fell silent again. The silence stretched uncomfortably. I wanted her to smile, to laugh a little, to show some spark. Instead, her answer stayed clipped, her posture stiff. At dinner, the distance grew heavier. My wife fussed, urging her to eat more, piling food onto her plate. "Have some more beef, dear." The young woman murmured, "Thank you," but hardly touched her plate. My son sat tense, clearly sensing the atmosphere. As I chewed in silence, I felt an ache in my chest. I had pictured a lively, warm presence, but instead, what I felt was a wall. Cold, reserved, and inside me rose a sting of disappointment. After they left, my wife sighed. "She seems nice, but so quiet. Maybe that's just how young people are these days." But I snapped back, my frustration spilling over. "She's not warm. A daughter-in-law should bring some life into the house. First impressions matter." Even as I said it, the words burned. I realized my disappointment wasn't just about her. It was about me. About the years I'd failed to be warm. About the parts of me I secretly wished could be softened by someone else's presence. Now I sit alone, replaying that dinner. The image of her downcast eyes haunts me. My heart feels heavy, torn between frustration at her silence and guilt for my own. I don't know what to do. Should I confront my son? Should I swallow my feelings and give her more time? Or is this my own shadow, the reflection of my unspoken regrets, staring back at me through her quiet demeanor? I find myself asking, if I had been warmer, would she have felt safer opening up? If I had been a different kind of father, would this meeting have gone differently? And the heaviest thought of all, maybe the real wall wasn't hers. Maybe it was mine, built stone by stone over 70 years of silence. As a family therapist, I often hear stories like this. Stories where disappointment with an in-law or a partner reveals deeper, long-buried wounds in the parent themselves. 1. Your disappointment is valid. You hoped for warmth. You expected to feel welcomed by the young woman who might become your daughter-in-law. Instead, you felt shut out. That hurt is real. It's not petty, it's human. 2. First impressions can be misleading. Many young adults are nervous meeting a partner's parents. Some become stiff, overly polite, or reserved. This doesn't mean they lack warmth. It may mean they're anxious, cautious, or unsure how to connect across generations. What you read as cold may simply have been fear. 3. Your history colors the moment. You yourself noted that you lived a life of emotional distance. When you say she was not warm, you may also be seeing your own past reflected back. In therapy, we call this projection. Your disappointment with her is tangled with regret about your own silence toward your wife and children. 4. Small gestures can change everything. You don't need to transform overnight into a different man, but you can take small, intentional steps. Greet her with a clear, steady, "I'm glad you came." Offer a short comment of appreciation. "This food is better because you're here." If words are hard, even a smile or nod at the right moment communicates welcome. These signals lower the wall. They show her she is safe to be herself. 5. Share hopes, not complaints, with your son. If you tell your son bluntly, "She's not warm enough," he'll feel torn and defensive. Instead, frame it as hope. "I'd like to know her better next time. Help me understand how to connect with her." That shifts the energy from criticism to invitation. 6. Let your wife lead and support quietly. If your wife is naturally warmer, let her guide the interaction while you offer background support. This way, your future daughter-in-law feels cared for without pressure. 7. Think long-term. Relationships don't bloom overnight. What feels like distance today may soften over time. Remember, you're not just welcoming a daughter-in-law, you're shaping how future generations, including grandchildren, see family. A little patience and warmth now may ripple for decades.